I would like to thank you for coming and welcome you to today's briefing. We are excited to have the opportunity to tell you about the 21 CSC initiative and legislation. And I see a lot of familiar faces and friends in the room, so thank you for being here. My name is Mary Ellen Sprinkle. I'm the president of the Corps Network, which is the National Association of Service and Conservation Corps. We've been around for about 30 years. Many of our corps have been around for 40 and even 50 years. So I'd like to begin by thanking Conservation Legacy and the Wilderness Society for helping sponsor this briefing. And I would like to urge everyone on your way out to please sign a birthday card for the National Park Service. As I'm sure you all know, it's their 100th anniversary. So the National Park Conservation Association very generously provided birthday cards. So grab one on your way out. The 21 CSC grew out of America's Great Outdoors Initiative, which many of you may remember was at the beginning of the administration. It was outreach to, I think, all 50 states. There were meetings in all 50 states and input from communities all across the country to talk about sort of what the next generation of outdoor recreation and conservation, natural resource conservation work should look like. And it looked at innovative ways and cost-effective ways to encourage outdoor recreation and conservation among the next generation of Americans. And what came out of those meetings was a recommendation to provide opportunities for 100,000 young people and returning veterans a year to do work on national public or federal public lands and waters in an effort to reduce the backlog and increase accessibility for outdoor recreation. So the partnership is comprised of more than 200 corps, youth and veteran serving organizations, state and local government, foundations, and businesses. So it's definitely a broad coalition. And together we partner with federal agencies like the National Park Service, the U.S. Forest Service, and the Corporation for National and Community Service to engage young people and returning veterans to restore, enhance, and improve access to Americans' public lands through service and AmeriCorps projects. So land and water resource management agencies face an incredible backlog in the billions of dollars, and every year that grows. It's impacted by demand for fire and disaster response and resiliency projects. And the 21 CSC programs stand ready to help address that backlog and address those needs. And like I mentioned, a number, 130 programs and about 25,000 young people a year are already doing this work and already partnering and making a dent in the work, but there is definitely a need for more and opportunities for more. So that brings us to the 21 CSC Act. In order to increase the level of engagement of young people and bring to scale work that is already very successfully working on the ground, we need sort of enhanced ways to partner with federal agencies that want to engage corps and provide opportunities to complete mission-critical work and career pathways for young youth and veterans. So we are very, very happy to have bipartisan legislation in both the House and the Senate. In the House, it's sponsored by Representatives Martha McSally and Seth Moulton, and it's called the 21 CSC Act. And in the Senate, it's been sponsored by Senator John McCain and Michael Bennet. So I would like to thank our sponsors in both the House and Senate, as well as some original co-sponsors, Representatives Newhouse, Gibson, Zinke, Huffman, Matsui, and Polis. So what the 21 CSC Act would do specifically is improve partnerships between resource management agencies as well as other federal agencies like AmeriCorps and the Department of Labor, Department of Veterans Affairs, to allow 21 CSC programs to address the backlog maintenance needs, improve access to public lands, and prevent and respond to wildfires and other natural disasters, and improve the resiliency of local communities and the environment. So you'll hear from a panel in just a moment. about how the 21 CSC Act would help them improve opportunities for fishing, hunting, outdoor recreation, career development, and basically opportunities to develop the next generation of outdoor recreationalists and outdoor stewards. You'll also hear from some folks in the outdoor industry about how growing this next generation is important and how it can spur economic development and create jobs. And on top of that, it would provide new opportunities for veterans to transition back to civilian life, for disconnected youth to get back on track, and for both populations to develop the skills necessary to get on career pathways and get into sustainable careers. And one of the parts of the 21 CSC that is so important to us is the non-competitive hiring authority, which means that core members, and I see a number in the room, who have served a specific number of hours on certain projects have the ability to move into federal jobs with a little bit more of a preference for 2 years. So that's really important to us. It's also very important to point out that the 21 CSC Act calls for no new money. And in fact, actually includes language limiting federal agencies to use existing funding and requires cost sharing of the partners to leverage existing funding and increase the amount of work that can be done. And it also gives the land management agencies additional tools to manage private donations and encourage private sector support. A recent cost analysis by the National Park Service and Booz Allen indicates that engaging a Corps to do certain types of projects can save up to 50% of the cost. So land management agencies can do twice the amount of work for the same amount of money, or the same amount of work for about half the money in certain instances. And regular surveys of our land management partners indicate that 99.6% would work with a Corps again. So very high satisfaction rate. So the 21 CSC Act translates to a win-win-win for the land management agencies. Not only are they getting important work done, they're leveraging their budgets, enabling them to do increased work through cost-effective Corps and helping engage the next generation of outdoor recreationalists, resource managers, and environmental stewards. So we hope that by the end of the briefing, you all will be moved to kind of examine the 21 CSC Act, and hopefully your bosses will consider supporting it as well. So thank you for being here, and I'd like to welcome Leslie Weldon, who is the Deputy Chief of the Forest Service, to talk about how this looks from the partner perspective.
Thank you. I am really happy to be here today, and wanted to start by thanking Mary Ellen and Harry for the stalwart work they've been doing, for a long time, since this whole initiative began with America's Great Outdoors, and really developed this movement into a movement that will be sustainable and still really giving us wonderful results. So thanks for your commitment to all of this. And then I just also wanted to thank the folks in the room here who are representing participants in these crews, or folks who have done that in your past. It's wonderful to have you here. As I was sitting here thinking about some things to share, one thing that came to mind to me is how steadfast we are able to be in looking at opportunities for utilizing the Conservation Service Corps, from the Youth Conservation Corps to our main core groups into the veterans, that really make a difference with how much work we're able to get done on the national forest and grasslands, work that's really critical. So that's a piece of it, getting the work done. The other side of it is, I think, a responsibility that we as federal land management agencies have. We're managing lands that belong to all citizens, to make sure that we are finding the strongest ways and the most needed ways to engage our citizens, and in this case, you, in being able to get that work done, for all the benefits that flow from that experience, and whatever it means from you, whether it's your first experience on a national forest, whether it's developing job skills, whether it's a time for you to step in and work with a very diverse group of people on very interesting projects in places that need the help, and that are also happen to be wonderful natural resource area. So all of those benefits are things that I think are the responsibility of us as federal land managers to make sure we're providing to citizens and to have this be a benefit. Not only the work that we're getting done, but everything else that flows from it. One of the things I wanted to share really quickly is that we have so many partners that we work with to get this work done. Carmen, and we have 3 of our program managers here with us today from the Forest Service, but Carmen was telling me at this point we have about 200 partner groups for 21 CSC that are working with the Forest Service now. We know we have more work we can get within those groups, but we also want to grow that more extensively across our landscapes. We're in this mode of growing more champions and believers in what 21 CSC crews can do for the agency, and that other part of that responsibility of what these experiences offer back to our citizens. One of the partners that we work with really closely that helps us deliver this is the National Forest Foundation, and I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to meet Bill Cosile, who's the president of the National Forest Foundation. They host a number of granting programs with the Forest Service where they raise private dollars and match them with federal dollars. And we have requirements and criteria that we evaluate that allow projects that are hosting crews to get that little extra something in their consideration. So the National Forest Foundation has been another entity that has helped us to put hundreds and hundreds of participants to work on our lands there. So we're very grateful for that. So our goals for this year are to get us close to that 10,000 number of participants. We're well on our way for that. And Mary Ellen, I think you mentioned the approval rate was 99.6%, and so we're going to keep working on that last 0.4% on that. And I think that'll happen as we keep growing this program into the way that we do work on our national forests and grasslands through our programs with state and private forestry and research and development. And we have many more opportunities to continue to grow. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to make a few comments and thank all of you for being partners with us in this work.
Thank you, Leslie. And next I would like to introduce my my counterpart, the other co-chair of the partnership, Mr. Harry Brule. Harry is the president and CEO of Conservation Legacy, which is the umbrella organization for several corps, including Arizona Conservation Corps, Southeast Conservation Corps, Southwest Conservation Corps, and I think I'm missing a few. Harry has been part of the Corps community for about 30 years, and he's responsible for the development of a lot of very important models like the Ancestral Lands Program and the Veterans Corps program. So I'm going to let him speak about those.
Thank you, Mary Ellen, and thank you, Leslie, for those great remarks, and everyone for being here. And I think in some ways the most important people in the room are really the Corps members. So how about the people who are working in a Corps right now just stand up and let's give you guys a hand. Thank you for being here, because you're the ones who do the hard work every day. We go to meetings and talk about this stuff and write stuff up. You're out there working your tails off, so we really appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. I think you're all going to be part of the service project, that's part of Great America Outdoors Week that Derek's pulled together, so that should be fun. You guys know how to work in the rain, I'm sure, so you can teach the rest of us what we should be doing on that. So I was supposed to say just a little bit about how 21 CSC works, and we've kind of tried to bullet it down into 4 things that make 21 CSC happen. The first are programs, and as Leslie and Mary Ellen both said, we have almost 200 programs around the country that are part of 21 CSC. So some of the folks in the room are part of that, and there are a bunch of others around the country, all 50 states, and these programs recruit and enroll participants, and that's you guys who are here, as well as now close to 30,000 participants around the country every year participating in 21 CSC. And then with our partners, and the Forest Service is a huge partner, the National Forest Foundation, the Park Service, local park units, all kinds of other folks are partnering for the public lands part, doing work out there. And then we have corporate partners, and you hear from Keene a little later, that's a huge part of that, and REI and North Face and others who've also contributed. So we have our partners, and then with our programs and our participants and our partners, we get projects done on the ground. and get huge amounts of work done that make a real difference and make a difference for the agencies and are getting, as the Park Service said to us lately, the core CORE of their work done is being done through 21 CSC. And so what this bill does is there's no money, it's budget neutral, it's bipartisan, so those are really important things these days on the Hill, and it gets stuff done through public-private partnerships. And it makes it easier for all of us to work with the agencies. It makes it easier for these young people to get hired by the agency. If they want to go get a job, they'll have 2 years of direct hire authority when they're done. And it gets a lot more work done. It will get us up to, we hope, the 100,000 participants out there. And with that, get a huge body of work done to deferred maintenance that Mary Ellen was talking about and all kinds of other things. So we wanted to bring one of our veterans in because as Leslie talked about, that's a really important piece of this is veterans. How many veterans are in the room? Well, thank you for your service. Some old friends, and Team Rubicon is here, and Vets Voice. So some very important veteran organizations. Our veterans happened to be out in the field and we couldn't draw them in. So we took our camera out there, we got a video of some of our veterans, and we're going to hear from them directly about their experiences.
Before I came here, I was pretty lost. I didn't really know what I was going to do.
This program definitely, I'll say without a doubt, changed my life.
The knowledge and experience you gain from this program is second to none.
Being outdoors and getting into this kind of line of work, the fresh air, it really helps to pick you up.
My name is Benjamin Flory. I served in the United States Marine Corps. Served for 6 years, from 2008 to 2014.
My name's Kevin Aguilar. I'm from Aurora, Colorado. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps as a rifleman with 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Division. So the training that we're getting through VFC has to do with setting us up in the future for positions with either the Forest Service or BLM, just anywhere in the country to get our foot in the door, get all of our certifications, get us our project hours, chainsaw experience, and to put that into one big packet resume.
I'm a very timid person, and I've always been nervous to try new things. In the VFC program, it really gave me a good foundation. It's definitely jump-started my career as a wildland firefighter.
So the Veterans Fire Corps program through 21 CSC is extremely important because it gives guys like me, men and women like me, who just are missing something in their lives when they get out of the military service, whether it's the camaraderie, the work ethic, or those around you, any number of reasons why you might feel that the transition's been rough. You can get back into that kind of relationship with other people, and especially on a veterans crew. One of the most therapeutic things you can do is speak with other vets and just be in that community again. It's a mental health issue, really, the way I see it. Now, if I had the opportunity to speak with a member of Congress regarding AmeriCorps, the Conservation Corps, and the 21 CSC, I would just tell them it's their responsibility as our leaders to ensure that the veteran population is taken care of. If you're going to send a group of individuals to war, then you need to be damn sure that you're going to take care of them when they get back and make sure that they have the opportunities that they need to transition back into civilian life. Honestly, I am just so appreciative of the opportunity that I've been provided here. I'm able to use a lot of the skills I learned in the military, as well as picking up more skills as a civilian. I'm able to take on leadership roles again. I'm able to show that I know how to work hard. I'm able to take care of tools in a professional manner. And just having that professionalism again gives me a lot more self-worth and self-respect, for sure. My continued national service through AmeriCorps means a lot to me. Basically, I just enjoy helping people. I like working real hard, and if I can make my community safer, make my community stronger through what I do in my daily activities, I feel like that's a pretty important part of serving your country. I'm not doing it in the military anymore, but I can still make a difference, and I can still put my work ethic to good use.
Right now, I'd like to invite our panel up. First, we have Nick Noble, who is a Corps member with Utah Conservation Corps. We also have Jordan Chapman, who is an alumni with the Greening Youth Foundation and an HBCU internship program with the Department of Interior. Kristen Blackburn, marketing manager with Keen Footwear. And Derek Crandall, president of the American Recreation Coalition. And I understand that Kristen has to leave Kirsten has to leave to go over to the White House in a few minutes, so we'll start with you.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
How was lunch? Good. My name is Kirsten Blackburn. I work for Keen Footwear. For those of you who don't know, Keen is a 13-year-old footwear company based in Portland, Oregon. Okay, thank you. We are a part of the outdoor industry, and America's Public Lands are the outdoor industry's backbone. They're the backbone of our company, and we feel a responsibility to preserve and protect them. So Chris and I, my colleague in the back, are here for a couple reasons. First, to be here and to share our support for 21 CSE, and also to help our Live Monumental campaign continue. It's a campaign to protect and preserve over 3 million acres of public lands. But really, I'm here today to talk about the importance of the 21 CSE, and in 2009, Keen Utility, our work division, our workwear division of the Keen brand was born. And with that, a commitment to serve and support our veterans was also born. So last year, we formalized a partnership with Conservation Legacy and the Wilderness Society to continue a legacy of supporting veterans. In the past, we supported organizations like Homes for Our Troops. In the last couple of years, we've been working with Conservation Legacy and the Wilderness Society to continue that work, and to also continue to support public lands legacy in this country. So we're thrilled to support Corps Work. Corps Work is an integral part of America's Public Lands, and we're excited to continue our commitment to serving veterans as well. So we're honored to be a part of this, and we're in full support of the 21 CSE.
All right. Again, thank you for this opportunity. My story is a little different than the typical Corps model. I came through individual placement program. I'm a Chicago native and Tuskegee University alumni. And I got introduced to the Corps program through an alumni. She was telling me about the program, and I was somewhat skeptical because I wasn't familiar with this field. But today, this is one of the best choices I've made. So I began the program working for the Department of Interior in the Office of Surface Mining VISTA program as a public administration fellow. I always had ambitions to get into public service, but I never knew that this was an avenue that I could pursue. So within that program, I was responsible for overseeing their VISTA program. And to give you a little background on their VISTA program, it began in 2001 as the Appalachian Cold Country Watershed Team. And what that team is a group of VISTAs and individuals who are volunteers in service to America. And they were working to improve in communities that were affected by legacy mining. So tremendous work. And I provided support for just providing research to help them throughout their term. The program then began to develop into the Department of Interior, and it expanded. So wherever there's a DOI presence, the VISTAs were stationed there, and currently there are about 132 VISTAs serving now. So tremendous growth from about 12 to about 132 in X amount of years. So that's just to show you the growth of the program and the impact. From there, I transitioned to a program with the Every Kid in the Park initiative, which was hosted by HBCUI, which is another 21 CSE program, and that program connected me to the Office of the Secretary where I worked on the Evergreen Park Initiative. So that was another great experience, and from there, I found myself at the Core Network working on government relations on public lands issues. So I've had the opportunity to provide research for visitors who are serving in the communities. And one example I would like to highlight is the Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation. And it's out of Texas, it's in Houston. And what that organization does is its mission is to help communities, it advocates for providing low-income housing and developing the community and economic growth. So we have a VISTA that was stationed there, and her project was to develop different type of economic environmental stewardship careers to help uplift that community. So she did things such as develop volunteer coordinating events, develop fundraising events, public-private partnerships, doing job skills training. So she had a very diverse experience, and what I did is just provided support and research so that when she went out into the field, she had all the tools that she needed to be successful and to really have an impact in the community. So it's different from the typical model, but it's a way to get involved into the environmental stewardship and conservation field.
Hi, I'm here to represent the Utah Conservation Corps. I'll start off with a little bit of a backstory. And when I was 16, I was diagnosed with an eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa that leads to eventual blindness. And if you could imagine, since then, I'm like, well, what do I do now? And I went for a long time pursuing different things like psychology, and I was pretty narrowed with ideas of what I could do for a living. And so I also pursued a sailing career, to be a sailing instructor and teach people with disabilities how to do outdoor recreation. And unfortunately, sailboats cost a ton of money to maintain, and I need a real job to do my dream job. And so I got back into Utah State University, and then from there I heard about the Utah Conservation Corps, and I learned that they have a crew specifically designed for persons with disabilities. That was back in 2014, and unfortunately, when I signed up, they didn't have that particular project funded. So okay, I'll just do the other stuff. And I was originally put on we did fuel reduction first in the Hyannis, and for 16 days, which was awesome, felling trees and making splash piles. It was a pretty cool experience for me, and I'm like, I don't know if I should be doing this, but and then actually, kind of a cool experience with that is we had a blizzard come through, and longest day of the year, June 21st, we have this blizzard, and I'm like, it's hard for me to see stuff, and I'm camping in the snow. You get up, you have to put your frozen boots on and get right back to work. And like, that was a pretty cool experience, because I'm like, wow, a lot of people don't know what this is like. And so after those hitches done, we ended up doing trail work in another place in the UNS, where it was 11,000 feet, it was over 8 miles in. We had to have everything packed in on mules, and we stayed up there for 4 weeks. And 4 weeks straight in the backcountry wilderness. And we went a week without seeing anybody. And when we saw that person, we were like, whoa, what's happening in the world? It's still there. And it was such an incredible thing for me. And there was a point where it was in the 3rd week, I was up at this high altitude lake fishing for my lunch. I'm thinking, I'm not worried about bills right now. I'm not worried about life. I'm just enjoying this. And so at the end of that, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And so I started sharing with other people kind of my experience with that, and other people who have various limitations like mobility, whether it be eyesight. And so yeah, and then the next summer, last summer actually, I was a crew leader for, it's called the Accessibility Survey Crew. It's where we go around and we survey campsites to determine their accessibility for handicap standards and stuff. And when we did that, we really realized the importance of this, because we had so many people in the public engaging with us, saying thank you for doing this, because we want to bring more of our family here, but we can't. And so the information that we gather then goes to a database that the Forest Service uses, so they could identify where they need to go and fix these problems for the public. And so at the end of that, I kind of stayed in touch to help out with that project. And it's a really cool thing that they do, because it's geared also to have another group of people that are often left out, and it's those who have disabilities, for instance. And there was one guy on my crew who had cerebral palsy, and this was like the first time he was allowed to go and do this kind of work. And there was another person who had a learning disability, and this was a really good experience for him too, because he learned a lot. And also part of the program is you have education hours that you have to do per week. And so not only is it a cool work experience, but it's also highly educational. And what I got out of that is what it takes to maintain our parks, what it takes to maintain trails, what it takes to make sure that everything's built up to a certain level of standards that includes everybody. And there's also a backlog, like it's been mentioned a lot, with the Forest Service, and because they were the ones that primarily were sponsoring some of our projects. And so it's a good way to get a lot of people out to do this kind of work, and provides valuable information for our sponsors of what needs to be done. And in the state of Utah, it's a huge, so many people go there for recreation, to hike these trails, to go hunting, to fish. Fishing is huge there, especially fly fishing. And part of kind of a cool thing that I saw with regards to fishing, I guess, is that Utah does a lot of work trying to restore riparian areas for fish, getting rid of that Russian olive and other invasive species, which is incredibly important, because those encroach in and take over native species, and that highly impacts the environment. And so altogether, the whole experience of the core work is an incredibly valuable thing for everybody. And it was a life-changing experience for me. I never thought I would be able to do those things, or say that I lived in the wilderness for a month and I had to hike carrying tools over miles on end, get to a work site, and then on the commute back home you have to take lightning position because there's a thunderhead right over us out of nowhere. And so when I heard about this act, it was like, this is something that needs to happen. The whole thing needs to, in a sense, kind of expand and really help out the community. And so yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Derek Crandall, and I have the fun of being one of the many partners in Great Outdoors Month this year. For the 8th time, President Obama has declared June as Great Outdoors Month. He's been joined by 49 governors so far, and we have one governor up in New York that just needs a little bit more time. But this year, again, all of the governors will join with the president and recognize the power of organizations, including the Core Network and others. There will be some 16,000 projects involving more than 3 billion people during the course of June. We'll do National Trails Day, National Get Outdoors Day, the Great American Campout, and so many more activities. The fun thing is that the Corps of this country are integrated into many of those. In fact, I just got on a plane yesterday from Jackson, Wyoming, one of the great places to hang out. And with the great assistance of both the Montana Conservation Corps and the Wyoming Conservation Corps, we did what the Forest Service said was over a week's worth of work, using 70 members of families that had been selected by 12 Western governors to come and camp out at the Great Outdoors Western Campout. Believe me, these families, each of whom had an Every Kid in a Park 4th grader, were introduced to great fun, but the capstone of their 5 days with us was this half-day effort on the putt-putt trail. And as we got together and talked about the memories, let me tell you, the fun of working together on their land, the Bridger Teton National Forest, seeing the physical changes that they as a group were able to carry out was the lasting carry-out of their time. And I have a couple pictures I'll leave up here, but again, we had 70 people, and the Corps proved their importance because they were the organizers. They were the ones who taught the use of the various kinds of trail equipment, and everybody felt good about that and are anxious to go ahead and do more. Now, just to talk a little bit about where we are, we have a great opportunity. The power of the Corps to introduce people to the outdoors, diverse Americans working together, connecting, is now recognized. But we're looking at a major time ahead. In January of 2017, we're going to have a different president. We'll have congressional changes. And it's time for us to understand that every time a transition like this takes place at the national level, programs either thrive or survive or become roadkill. And we can't allow something as good as what we have going here to become something that is roadkill. We need to expand dramatically the number of slots that are available and the opportunities that are made possible through Corps. We can and we should be looking at ways to integrate more opportunities to learn about tourism and to work with concessioners and ski areas and other partners that have large numbers of employees on public lands and who are looking for people to come and be part of their industries. As I was in Yellowstone National Park, and the superintendent, Dan Wank, pointed out that there were 4,000 people working in Yellowstone National Park this summer, and only 850 are National Park Service employees. All the rest are employees of concessioners and friends groups and others. And we need to recognize that we can expand not just with the federal funding for tasks accomplished or through funding through special programs, but by enlisting the resources of the private sector. And I want to give a shout out to the National Trust and the HOPE projects, because I think that's a great opportunity. HOPE stands for Hands-On Preservation Experiences. And I think using that, we've been able to show in Shenandoah and Yellowstone and many other places that we can not only get great work done to take care of this wonderful, wonderful asset that we have of parks and forests and wildlife refuges, but we can do that in a way that passes on some of the skills that are essential to being able to restore buildings built back in the 1910s and the 1930s. I guess in closing, there's a lot more I'd love to tell you, but I know that our time is limited. But I would say as an example of how we have to be flexible is that on June 2nd of this year, Mary Ellen and Harry and others were participants in something called Partners Outdoors 2016. It's an annual meeting bringing together leadership from the recreation and conservation family, public sector, private sector alike. And we heard Sally Jewell talk about her passion for this program and for the power of having young people working and connecting with the outdoors. And she said, had she been secretary at the early stages of the Obama administration, with all due respect to the 21st Century Conservation Service Corps, it would not be named that. It would be called CCC 2.0. And I think the important takeaway from that is to understand that as we have new leaders come in, we may have to give them an opportunity to put their fingerprints on things. It may come to new names, it may be other aspects, as long as they're willing to help us build upon the solid foundation that we now have in place. So we have to go into January 2017 with the skill sets of what you're doing in the field, but also the advocacy work that comes through the Corps Network and other kinds of advocates for the program. Great opportunities. We have everything going for us. We recognize the importance of connecting young people to the outdoors. We recognize the importance of increased efficiency of government programs. We recognize all of those kinds of positives. And so together, I'm a big believer that we can be able to build upon a solid foundation and have something that's even better no matter who is elected, because we have the right kind of a message and the right kind of a program. So congratulations to all of you who are doing so much. You're making an impact today and for years to come, and I think you're opening the doors to something that could be even bigger and better as we work together to build a blueprint for how we can have more Americans spend more time having more fun in the great outdoors. Thank you.
Thanks to our panel. We're going to open up for questions in just a few minutes, but first I would like to recognize Congressman Seth Moulton is going to join us this afternoon. He is one of the original co-sponsors of the bill and has been a great supporter. He is on the floor voting and understand he will be there for quite a while. So we have a good friend and partner, his legislative assistant, Margot Brown, and we'd like her to come say some words. Sure.
Sorry in advance. I'm certainly not who you should be hearing from on this, but I will speak a few seconds on behalf of my boss. I think my boss is a Marine Corps veteran. He served 4 tours in Iraq, and for him, a lot of this legislation has a lot to do with national service, and I think that's a component that perhaps hasn't been spoken to as much by some of the people who know more about the details of the bill, certainly than even he or I would do. But I think for him, one of the really compelling parts of this is really the story that we saw in that video earlier. It is the story of veterans who've come back, who've served overseas, and then who come back to a country where, I mean, frankly, the last 2 wars, only 1% of the country served during those wars. So to come back from a protracted conflict is a very difficult thing. It's obviously something that the VA is struggling to deal with. The many soldiers, service members who are coming back struggling from post-traumatic stress. The ability for people who have served together, served in similar circumstances, to once again have a community, I mean, I think that cannot be undervalued. But then to simultaneously afford an opportunity to young people as well. I mean, I think we hear so much about my generation, our generation being unengaged, about kind of millennials who are opting out of politics and political engagement. And for my boss, who ran really on a very bipartisan message, the importance of this bill introduced on the Senate side with 2 wonderful senators in a bipartisan way, Senator Bennett from Colorado and Senator McCain, obviously from Arizona, and a leader within the national service community himself. And then for my boss with Congresswoman McSally, who frankly he doesn't agree with on many issues, and they'll fight it out on the House Armed Services Committee, but then to come together on a bill that they do both very much believe in. And I think the other important thing is, and this was also mentioned, but you know, I think many of you know about the constrained budgetary environment that we're dealing with right now in the House. And with, you know, many people are concerned about the deficit and reductions, and that has a real, you know, cost to, you know, our Forest Service that is currently undergoing, you know, is having to pay for what is the result of, you know, increasing warming. We're seeing blight. We're seeing, you know, different species that are, you know, different beetles that are affecting our trees and all these other things that, you know, we don't have the funds to handle that themselves in addition to forest fires. But then we have this force that can be mobilized, this force that is both giving back and learning from the experience and learning true leadership in the service of their country. And I think for my boss, that makes this legislation so incredibly compelling, that it's this public-private partnership. P3s, I think, you know, I mean, we're going to be hearing about them continually with government these days. And I think that he believes strongly in this legislation because it does that. It offers this unique opportunity to serve, and it helps us to make sure that our public lands, which are one of the greatest legacies of being an American citizen, of being part of this beautiful and diverse country, remain something that is accessible to all. And frankly, when you have trails that you can't walk down, they're not very accessible. But we have corps that are mobilized that are working on these projects. So anyway, my name is Margot Brown. You can email me if you're a congressional office and you have any questions about the bill. Hopefully we will be seeing some kind of markup coming up soon, and we're hopeful that this is actually going to move because, as you mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen in the next year, but we do know that this needs to be preserved and this partnership needs to continue. Thank you so much.
Wow, everybody has just done such a great job. I would like to now open it up to questions and comments for anyone on the panel, Harry, myself, Margot, or maybe you'd like to hear from some core members.
Okay, so this sounds like a bill that could make a great difference for a lot of young people and for our public lands and maintaining them. But what's the cost associated with this bill?
There is no cost whatsoever. It's received a 0 score from CBO. In fact, if the cost analysis that we have had historically done are correct, there will be a cost savings over time.
So this is using existing dollars, and it's going to employ young people to do work at 50% or something like that, you said earlier? Less
Exactly,
than that,
yes.
the cost?
So the Forest Service, the National Park Service, the Federal Land and Water Management agencies, they have funds appropriated to them that they are required to use and to do certain amounts of upkeep and required maintenance every year. Some of that does not get done, of course, and it adds to the backlog. But a certain amount is done every year, and to the extent that it can be done in partnership with CORS, it can provide a cost savings to the federal government. It can provide opportunities to young people and returning veterans. It can spur economic development, so it's just kind of a win-win-win all around with no cost and potentially a savings.
Just to reinforce what Mary Ellen is saying, we're saying that the major federal agencies have budgets in the billions of dollars, much of which goes to operations and maintenance. And simply by using in a different way the existing funding level, you're able to actually stretch those dollars and accomplish a win-win-win, because not only are you getting the job done, but you're now actually giving training and experience and opening up the doors to careers by the people who are working out in the field. Plus, you're actually creating this connection. It's the bond. If you look at why America has a passion for the great outdoors, there have been surges in that. The biggest surge of all was when the CCC was created during the heart of the Depression. And young men, because that's all that was taken at the time. We didn't have a program that actually reached out and offered to all Americans, but it took young men from Boston and New York and Philadelphia and put them out into Shenandoah and the Grand Tetons and others, and they built structures that we still are using today, whether it's physical buildings or roads or trails or other kinds of things. That legacy was there when these same people went off and fought World War II and came back and bought their station wagons and had their kids. They took their families out to see what they did in these parks. And that kind of generational pass down, that ownership of the great outdoors, 1/3 of this country, which is all of ours, indivisibly, that kind of reconnection is something that we can do again in the 21st century.
Yeah, I guess to build off of what Derek's saying, I think I can say pretty accurately for Kirsten, who was from Keen Footwear, because we've partnered very closely with them, and that's really why they're so invested in this bill and seeing passage of this bill, is because it directly affects their economy and the entire outdoor industry, which is a $646 billion economy. And so they really see the writing on the wall that if there is more investment in this work, there will inherently be more investment in the whole economy overall into perpetuity. So that's why they're here today and doing what they're doing with Live Monumental and many other companies, not just Keen. They're just a really invested partner that's committed to this.
Yeah, I could just add that one of the places that the Corps are working with us is this year 18 governors will host 50 fourth graders camping out, in most cases on the front lawn of the residence that they live in. So downtown Richmond, in a week and a half, Terry McAuliffe will have 50 kids camping out in tents. And all of these 18 governors are involving reaching out to partners, including Conservation Corps in their states, to tell the story, not just to these kids, but to the media that's kind of attracted to this idea. Kids sleeping out on the front lawn of the governor's mansion in Richmond, kind of a fun concept to have. And all of these campouts, the equipment is being provided free by the Coleman Company, just as another example. And the food is often being prepared by concessioners like Delaware North, coming in from Shenandoah National Park to involve the kids in outdoor cooking skills and talking about healthy lifestyles, eating the right kind of foods, how to make cooking fun, how to make meals fun, social events. So we have great partners out there. what we're interested in doing is just creating these kind of life-changing opportunities that along with the Every Kid in a Park Pass that allows everybody who's in 4th grade to take their families to national parks, also have that kind of spark that makes them want to use that pass. You know, this is the problem of sitting around indoors. If we were outdoors, we'd see lots more smiles, lots more activity.
Well, maybe we'll wrap a few minutes early and people can cut through the courtyard on their way back to their offices or something. So please help me in thanking the panel. They were absolutely terrific. And Harry and Marco. I hope if you kind of leave with any thought in mind today, it's that there is really kind of no downside to this legislation, but there are just benefits across the board. Society, the environment, community, young people, economy, and there is no cost, and I hope that you will urge your bosses to consider co-sponsoring, and if you are, and if you would like to co-sponsor or get additional information, you can contact Margot or Congresswoman Rick Sally's office, or Tyler Wilson here at the Core Network. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.